All right, my friends, we're going to nip in the bud once and for all this idea that your house is not an asset. And this will be the end of this discussion because we're going to close this book on this because it's silly in of itself without question. Not to understand imputed income is to be completely ignorant about basic financial matters. All right, so there's an article today by Eugene Fama, or Fama, I guess I'll call him Fama. Nobel Prize winner, University of Chicago. He founded DFA, Dimensional Fund Advisors, or at least is on their board of their academic advisors. They use his name as marketing to show evidence-based investing. French Fama, Ken French, Eugene Fama. The factor investing model is a three-factor. I forgot, it was value. I think it was low price book, low PE, high dividend yields or something. I can't remember. But he had a small cap value stocks where two of their factors, I can't remember what the three is, a three factor, now it's five factor, and I forgot what it was. And look, there's some legitimacy to this stuff for sure. It just inherently makes sense. You buy stocks that are lowly valued, more likely to make money in the future. You buy stocks that are highly valued, i.e. pricey, less likely to make money in the future because you're paying a premium on the highly valued stock and you're paying a discount on the low value stock. And that's essentially this essence of French Fama. And then you take small caps, historically have done better than large caps. Value historically has done better than growth. And there you go. It's not anything more difficult than that. And the evidence, going back to the evidence-based investing, would lead you to believe that small cap value has outperformed. I challenge to hold the thing because you take a few years out of that and it's basically even Steven, but whatever. I mean, at the end of the day, I think there's some validity to that, but I'm not going to bank my retirement portfolio on that simply because what happened in the past doesn't necessarily mean it'll happen in the future. And it's certainly not evidence. We don't have evidence in this to presume going forward. This isn't gravity. I can't hold something above ground and watch it drop and say I have evidence in the stock market the way I can for gravity. So, but be it as it may, I like DFA, Dimensional Fund Advisors. Again, I think a lot of people drink the Kool-Aid and they say DFA is evidence-based and they use that as an excuse to charge you fees on your portfolio because they say it's science and everyone wants to be in science. And it's silly, but okay. Anyway, so he had written a paper I just read today. It's only a 2-pager. I have a sneaky suspicion it's a chapter of a forthcoming book in SSRN, Social Sciences Research Network. And SSRN, founded by a guy named Greg with 2 G's, Gordon, like 20 years or so, or something like that. A lot of law professors write in SSRN, psychologists, economists. That's why it's social sciences. And of course, those folks hate the idea, many of them, that they're social and not a hard science. So they try to come up with all these elaborate mathematical equations. All right, so Eugene's writes that the income property tax is an income tax on homeowners. All right. Now, I'm going to share with you what he proves to put away this whole theory that your home is not an asset once and for all. Now, he doesn't say that, but he tells us exactly enough that you cannot help. You'd be insane not to link the two. All right. So he uses an example. You're living in Chicago, and we'll just use it, a $1 million house. You got a 1% property tax. How much does that cost? Cost $10,000, all right? So that's not an income tax, that's just a property tax. Well, Eugene also says, how much does it cost to rent in Chicago? And again, he's just using this because this is where he lives. He says the average cost of renting, or typical cost of renting, is 5% of the market value of a home. So you got a $1 million home you're trying to rent, it's going to cost you $50,000 a year. You got a $1 million home you own outright. It doesn't have to be outright, but outright, for this example, it costs you $10,000 a year. Both people are still living in that house. One is paying $50,000, one's paying $10,000. The $40,000 difference is the imputed income, i.e., while you're not earning money, you are earning the living arrangements without having to pay that $40,000. That's the imputed income. And so what Eugene Fama says is, you take the $10,000 of the property tax, divide it into the imputed income, the $50,000 of a rent, what a renter would have to pay, and that gives you a 20% imputed income tax on your imputed income. Because he's saying, look, if you were renting this place, you would need $50,000, but because you own it, you only need $10,000, but $10,000 is 20% of $50,000 that it costs a renter, and thus you have a 20% income tax on your imputed income. I think that's interesting, and I'm surprised he didn't take the next step though, because I would argue, all right, a 20% income tax on your imputed income, that's fine, but that guy who needs $50,000 of income in which to rent the place, right? What's his tax on actual income? So you're paying a 20% imputed income tax because you got $10,000 that's got to go out, and it would have cost you $50,000 in which to rent that home. So that's a 20% imputed income tax. I get that. But if you weren't owning and you were renting instead, it would cost you $50,000 to live there, which means you would have to make if you're single, that puts you in a 22% tax bracket. All right. Now it's not going to be 22% on $50,000 because the first $10,000 is 10%. The next $27,000, the next $27,000 is 12. So it's probably going to cost, we'll just say 11% effective tax rate. So it's going to cost you, what's that? 11%, $5,500 to rent. All right. So you're going to pay tax. It's going to cost you $5,500 if you're the renter. So in that case, you need to come up with $55,500 in which to rent this place, because you're going to have an 11% effective tax rate on the $50,000 you need in which to live in that home. Now, obviously, you need more income to live on. So you need food, you need car insurance, you need all that other stuff. You need more income, which is going to, whoa, yikes, big old deer running by there. Wow. It's a big old buck. That was gorgeous. You just saw the way he was prancing and dancing. Yeah, oversized rats, but man, they are gorgeous. Anyway, so you need a whole lot more income than just the $50,000. So when all's said and done, if it costs you $50,000 to rent, you're certainly going to be in a 22% or higher tax bracket, and I imagine your taxes are going to be much higher than just $10,000. But just go with those two examples right there. One guy's $50,000 to live in a rent, but that $50,000 that he generates to live is going to be taxed at a certain amount of income, and that's just the feds, never mind the Chicago or the city of Chicago, the state of Illinois. So it's going to cost him $5,500 from the feds. So he needs to generate $55,500 in income in order to live in that house. The guy who owns it outright, he needs to generate $10,000 in income in order to live in that house, and that will be completely free and clear because the standard deduction is well above the $10,000. So the first guy, while he has to pay the standard, the tax, the $10,000, he'll pay no tax on generating the income in which to pay that $10,000. The second guy, well, he gets a standard deduction, will still have to gather enough income, $50,000 to live in that house, but he's going to have to pay tax on the income he's gathered, and that'll cost him about $5,000, $6,000, all said and done. So at the end of the day, the first guy, all he needs to come up with is $10,000. The second guy needs to come up with just say $55,000. That means a $45,000 difference there is the imputed income. So when people say there's no cash flow being generated from this asset, it's a dead asset, you have to simply say, what is imputed income? Imputed income is very simple. It's the amount of money you don't need to generate in order to occupy the home. I mean, literally, I don't get people who don't get this. It's just odd to me. I live in this home free and clear. If I were to rent this home, I would have to pay $50,000. Because I own it, I only have to pay $10,000. The difference between the two is the imputed income, the income I do not need to generate in order to occupy this house. And because I don't need to generate that income, I also don't need to pay tax on the income, and thus it generates an asset. It generates an income. It just doesn't go to my checking account. Well, that's good. I don't want it to go to my checking account because I don't want to have to pay tax on it. Hey, so all those guys who sit there and say, your house is not an asset. It's just the weirdest thing to me. So now I got a PhD, Nobel laureate from the University of Chicago, a very well-known economist, investment guy, who explicitly said the terms imputed income. Now again, he didn't use it in the terms I'm using here, but that's where a little elbow grease and just thinking says, if old Eugene Fama is saying imputed income, but he's arguing that property tax is income tax on homeownership, be it as it may, I'm arguing that it proves once again, that your house is an asset because of this thing called imputed income. Anyway, hope you find that informative. Anyone who doesn't want to use their house as an asset, feel free to give it to me. I will take that dead asset off from you, all right? But you can give it to me. It won't even be a gift tax, because there is no gift tax essentially today, unless your house is worth, 11 million bucks. I'll happily relieve you of that home and that dead asset, and I will happily move in there and happily pay the property tax or the income tax on the imputed income as well, as Eugene Fama says. Because there is imputed income, you gotta pay tax on it via the property tax. So feel free to email me. Say, Josh, I have a dead asset here. It's doing me no good. I want you to have it because this dead asset is not generating any income from me, and thus it's not an asset. Good. Be happy to take that non-asset from you. All right, we'll see you.